Hello, and welcome to CalGEM's WellFinder training series. Today, we will be demonstrating advanced search techniques in the WellFinder web map. Specifically, we'll be using query and filter today. The basic search tutorial describes how to find data for one specific point, like an individual well, or how to export data for points that are close together. On the other hand, query and filter allow you to find points that all meet certain criteria. And our first example is identifying all idle wells in a jurisdiction of our choice and exporting that data as a spreadsheet. We will start by clicking the query icon on the left-hand side of the screen, opening up 4 options. For this task, we will use the second option, List Oil and Gas Wells by Local Jurisdiction. Here, we can indicate our location of interest, such as Bakersfield, and well status of interest, which is idle. For this query function, you are limited to only one place, but you can select as many well status options as you prefer. Place and well status are linked, so if you select a place, it will only show you well statuses that exist in that jurisdiction. Conversely, if you select a well status first, it will only show you places which have wells with that status. We'll optionally rename the result layer and select Apply. Now, the new result layer we just named is in the layers list as a temporary layer. It will disappear if you run another query function or close your tab. The query pop-up shows us that there are 243 features in this layer. To download the data, select the 3 dots in the pop-up window and select Export to CSV file to save it as a spreadsheet. The points show up on the map as blue circles, and we can click Change Symbol under the same 3 dots drop-down to modify the color, size, and shape of the symbology. Now, let's say we were interested in running this query function again with different parameters. We'll just click back to the Tasks side of the query pop-up and make any changes. You can leave either of these criteria blank if necessary. As an example, leaving Place empty, but selecting Idle Wells status will conduct a statewide search for idle wells. For searches over 2,000 results, click the downward arrow button before exporting until all results are displayed. Rerunning the query function will overwrite the previous temporary layer, as we can see here. To remove a temporary layer from the map, navigate back to the results side of the pop-up. If necessary, click the 3 dots in the pop-up and then remove this result. Using query is straightforward but has limited customization, which is where filter comes in. We'll close the query window and select the filter icon, which is the second from the left. The output of query is a temporary layer, storing the query results. On the other hand, filter doesn't create a temporary layer and narrows the layer data as a whole. Filter results are viewable in the attribute table and map view. There are 5 built-in filters of common tasks. Each one is named for the layer it filters. So for example, the Notice of Intention Submitted Type filter is only going to filter data from the Notice of Intention Submitted layer under Notice and Permit. To view the results of filter, you must have the correct tab of the attribute table open. To search for Notice of Intention Submitted types, we'll toggle the filter on and open the dropdown. Then we'll select any notice types of interest, such as abandon and rework. Then we'll go to the layers list and open the attribute table for Notice of Intention Submitted. And here are the filtered results showing abandon and rework notice types. The table will update in live time as you change filters. So if we remove these 2 notice types and select new drill instead, the table immediately updated to new drill notice types. The map is also updating, but the zoom extent will not change automatically. If you would like to see the effective filter on the map, make sure you have manually panned to the right location and zoom level and that your layer of interest is on. You can run multiple filters at the same time, but keep in mind that most are filtering different data. For example, I can turn on the oil and gas well status and type filter, choosing wells that have an active status and are dry gas type. This filter is not going to have any effect on the Notice of Intention Submitted table, but will show up in the Oil and Gas Well tab of the attribute table. One example where filters would affect each other is if you use both oil and gas well filters, these two at the top, in which case the results from both will be displayed together. For example, if I turn on the second filter and select Canceled Wells in Colusa County, the table will add these new results without removing any results from the previous filter. In other words, the table now shows a list of active dry gas wells in the state as a whole, which is the result from the first filter, and a list of canceled wells in Colusa County, which is the result from the second filter. Lastly, note that active filters will continue to affect other WellFinder processes, like query, interacting with the data in the map, or viewing the attribute table. Be sure to turn off filters when you are done to avoid errors. And that is it for this video. If you are interested in leveling up your search even more, please check out our tutorial on custom filters, which goes over how to create a completely personalized filter instead of using a preset option. Thanks for watching!